Breaker Crunchers. It's Saturday night in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to another exciting new episode of Couch Crunchers, where we're just three white guys that are about to go on trial for exposing ourselves at a retirement facility. So
Allegedly.
Leave it to the lawyer to make sure that the right words are spoken. But we got an awesome episode planned for you guys. So tonight we're going to talk about Richard Jewell and Just Mercy, two kind of courtroom crime dramas based on actual events. And then we're going to talk about Favorite Flub. So we'll first get into the movie reviews. We're going to try something a little different tonight. We'll do the movie reviews first. We'll kind of compare and contrast these two movies against each other. And then we'll get into a couple Favorite Flubs that we have. Max, can you take it for a second? I just realized my door's open.
Yeah, dude, I got it. I'm actually with Lance tonight, but we are high tech, and I've got my own camera. Look at all the pops behind me, guys. Isn't my pop collection beautiful?
I got some more.
It's just amazing.
I got some more since you guys last saw me. Check out this awesome one.
You guys want to know what kind of a friend Lance is? He's the kind of friend that says, "Hey, do you want this pop?" But he doesn't tell you that you're buying it, and then he buys it for you. And then you're like, wait, I needed to pay you for that? I thought you had an extra one that you were going to give me. But no, he just bought a pop and said, now you have to pay me $15 for it.
It's more his fault than my fault. I was literally standing in Target and took a picture of my hand. You could see like 18 TVs like behind my hand. But yeah, I just got Submariner and
Up your Mariner.
Toad from the X-Men. Like that tongue there.
Very nice. It reminds me of a story, something that happened. My aunt was hosting a party. She invited everybody in the family, said, hey, everybody bring your own potluck, bring it all. And everyone comes over, and then when they get there, she says, you're not coming in unless you pay me $5.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, what are you talking about? We brought the food. She goes, yeah, I need $5 to pay for the cutlery and the plates and the cups and stuff.
So she didn't even tell you beforehand. It was like kind of like you were walking in the door and that was it, huh?
Yeah. She set it up. Max got $5 at the door.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Don't do your people dirty.
Right? Jeez.
Oh, are we losing Sam?
Hello. Uh-oh. Corona'd.
It's definitely his. Well, so my week was pretty it's coming through your computer.
I don't understand. Like my speakers are
volume
down. I did. It's all the way down.
Well, my week was uneventful. As you guys know, we've stayed inside for the last couple of weeks. I think it's day 15 of the quarantine. And I've just been sitting in this office for 2 weeks, man. It's like driving me nuts. He's saying he can't hear you. Matt saying.
You can't hear me. I wasn't speaking.
So Matt, we are in the same room, Max and I. And we're using one microphone through my computer. So that's probably why you see the mute button next to Max's thing. But yeah, I've been stuck in this room for 2 weeks, man. Like I'm going insane. And I've been in countless Zoom. I feel like I have more meetings now than I had before. Like just countless Zoom meetings.
Yeah, that hasn't been the case for me, But like the meetings that I generally have in my job are like over the phone and via like a WebEx conference anyway. So it's like, because they're usually with my clients who don't work at my office. So
right.
For me, it hasn't really been different. We've had like a team huddle every morning virtually just to make sure everyone's doing okay. But yeah, which I actually have some exciting news. I can now officially share this. I knew it last week on the show, but I couldn't say anything. My work a couple months ago, I asked them, since my wife and I are having a baby, both of our sides of the family are in Arizona. And so I asked my work a couple months ago if I could move down to Arizona and work remotely, and they actually gave me the approval. So
you announced this last week.
I told you guys. I don't think I said it on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I told you, but not the crew.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't an announcement. It was just we were getting the details.
I was telling friends. Now I'm telling my internet friends.
Well, welcome back to Arizona. We've missed you.
Oh, we're using the wrong one.
Or were we using the wrong mic?
Yeah.
Oh,
mute. Boy. Unmute your. Thanks.
So Matt is playing techie for us. He's playing AV support. Thanks, Matt.
Wait, hold on. Give me 1 sec. 1 sec.
I think you've had a lot of
Unplug your mic.
Seconds.
Mute.
Oh boy. This is fun.
So, how are you guys loving quarantine?
We're doing great over here.
Did you have to stay at Lance's house for the whole week?
Yes, absolutely.
He has never left.
Do you have to share Lance's shower? You guys have to shower together in order to conserve water? You guys are both muted, you dorks.
All right. Are we good? Are we good? Are we coming?
I can hear Lance. Can
you hear me now?
I can hear Max. That sounds pretty good.
Okay, good.
All right.
Dang.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt, for coming into our
As
chat.
you guys know, it is quarantine time, and there are certain stresses and things happening in this crazy time. And we are experimenting tonight with using 2 computers in the same room, which microphones don't generally like that. So, but we finally got it figured out. We apologize. Let's get into our movie review. So we're going to talk about Richard Jewell and Just Mercy. Now, I think the most recent viewer of Just Mercy is Sam, who beat me by 59 minutes up until 6 minutes ago. So, so Sam, let me give well, actually, let's do this. Let me give a quick breakdown of the movie. So, Richard Jewell synopsis. Thanks, bud. Richard Jewell depicts the July 27th Centennial Olympic Park bombing, where Richard Jewell was he saved a bunch of people from this bombing, and then he was accused of planting the bomb. I know, only in the movies, right? But no, this happened in real life. So this was in Georgia. He was just completely steamrolled into being accused of this very catastrophic crime, and it turns out that he was innocent through the whole process. Spoiler, which I think people know.
I think it's only one.
It's history. It's history. How do you spoil things that actually happen?
Right.
But it was directed by Clint Eastwood. It was starring Paul Walter Hazer in the title role, Sam Rockwell and Kathy Bates, John Hamm, and Olivia Wilde. Kathy Bates was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for this movie. Just Mercy tells the true story of Walter McMillan, who was on death row, falsely put on death row for a murder conviction, and the movie kind of takes place behind from the viewpoint of Brian Stevenson, who was his attorney and is a very prominent attorney in Alabama, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so he's a very prominent attorney in Alabama that kind of helps people on death row.
He is now.
Pro bono too.
He is now.
Oh yeah. In the movie, he's not. He's brand new. So like this was what, his second case or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. But now he's been doing this for 30 years. But that one is directed by Destin Daniel Creighton, starring Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, Tim Blank Nelson, Rob Morgan, and Brie Larson. I don't know this other guy, Raphael Spall. I don't know who. Raphael Spall. Both, in my opinion, fantastic movies. Both very similar with kind of the messaging of being falsely accused and an attorney kind of doing whatever they can to help this, being one of the few people that believe these people that have been falsely accused. And the sad reality is that this happens in our country every day, where people are placed on death row. So if you guys don't know, Sam is a licensed attorney in the state of Arizona and the state of California.
Yep.
As of recently, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So that's why Sam took a hiatus last year. He was studying for the bar in California. So we are all very proud of him. But he's going to offer some, unique insight into these movies based on his background. Max and I liked the movies just for being movies.
Yeah.
We thought they were great. But I'm really interested to kind of hear what Sam thinks. So Sam, how much of this movie is realistic, or these two movies are realistic? Is one more realistic than the other? Do you see a lot of instances where maybe things were embellished a little bit? I'm really interested to hear what you say.
Well, so first off, I want to say that I wasn't present at the cases or in the hearings when those things took place, but as far as legal battles go, they often do end in kind of a big fizzle, which is what happened in both cases. Is somebody comes to a realization that they are not right, that they've been pushing for the wrong side, and when they finally come to that realization and they're just disgusted with themselves, they just kind of roll over and the legal battle ends. You come to an agreement, come to a settlement, and then the case is over. And that's how most of these things go. I've been in a lot of trials as far as civil attorneys go. I've been in probably 50 trials. They're very stressful. Some of them are high profile. Some of them are high stakes. In the civil side where I practice, it's only really money. It's primarily money that's up for grabs. Whereas in these two movies, they're criminal trials, which means that somebody's life, somebody's freedom is at stake. And these were both kind of high profile cases. And they're cases where the government was looking for somebody so that they can appear like they're doing their job.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned over the many years that I've been practicing law is that nobody really knows what they're doing. We have rules that we play by, and those rules are only as good as the people that follow them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you have politicians, you have government personnel who want to look like experts, who want to look like authorities, and they are so terrified of the truth that they don't know what they're doing come out. And so they will sacrifice someone else's life to save their own skin, to save their own reputation.
Matt also said money comes into play as well.
Money, as far as politics goes and public servants, I don't think money is really the question. It's not really about money for the prosecutors, because they get a state salary, they get a government salary. It's public record what their salary is, and that's not much. Like, they're not in it for money. I mean, in civil cases.
In the case of Richard Jewell, that district attorney was kind of vying to elevate his job status, right?
Yeah, so that's a different thing. That's power, that's prestige, that's reputation, and that's really kind of where the political part comes in. Is that in the public service, in the criminal arena, these people are out for advancing their own political careers, which doesn't necessarily come with a big paycheck. Civil private practice attorneys make way more. Defense attorneys can make way more than the prosecutors ever will. So I don't think the false pursuit of, the overzealous pursuit of justice is the result of money. I think it's about reputation. I think it's about people wanting to appear like experts. And unfortunately, that can take people really far off the deep end, off the path of justice. They think what they're doing is right, but if you're not following the rules, it's not right. And that's really the message.
Go ahead.
Well, that's a big part of the message here is that if you're not doing things the right way, if you're not doing things according to the law, no matter what result you get, it's tainted. It's wrong.
Right.
Even if you got the right guy, but you did it the wrong way, it's not a good result.
Right. Right. I was kind of, as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking, I don't know if either of you watched Outsider, but the beginning of Outsider kind of starts the same way, where this deputy or sheriff or whatever he is so convinced that Jason Bateman's character killed this kid, puts him through this litany of just abuse, right? And turns out, he didn't do it, right? But he dies in the process, So, sometimes believing that you have the right guy can almost blind you from the other possibilities, right? In this case, in Richard Jewell and in the case of Just Mercy, these two men were stereotyped. Richard Jewell for being awkward and kind of pudgy and just this weird nice guy, right? Because he's
the profile on him was weird.
Yeah, the profile was like a loner seeking attention, and they had it all wrong. Like, he's a loner, he's a gun owner, he's out here trying to get.
That was hilarious.
I mean,
guns in the home, and he brings out an arsenal. I mean, this is a redneck from Georgia. I mean, he had an arsenal.
But in the case of Just Mercy, Walter McMillan was stereotyped because he's black. So there's a big race issue that's played there, and has been played numerous times in Alabama.
A drinking game. Every time Lance says, take a drink, Matt says.
But shut up, both of you. But there's a lot of stereotyping that goes in the way. So for instance, at the end of Just Mercy, there's some title cards that play, right, that kind of show things that have happened since, or things that happened that didn't really make it into the movie.
Yeah.
They had a white man who was suspected of the crime, and they never investigated him. They never prosecuted him.
Wait, they said that in the Just Mercy?
In the credits.
I didn't know that. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie twice
it's
now.
It's the last one, right before the credits says Just Mercy, that there's just one image of the girl who died, her picture, and it talks about how they had a white man that they were that they talked to that was suspected of doing it, and they never investigated him or anything.
Yeah, that case is messed up, which
we'll
get deeper into that later. Man alive.
So meanwhile, there's a woman that died in Alabama in the early 90s, 93, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think she died in the 80s, but
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
That her family has no idea who killed their daughter or their sister or whatever, because these racist cops from Alabama decided that it had to be a black man because it was a white woman. This happens every day. It's disgusting, and it's was it because he was considered essential? It happens every day. It's
Matt's bringing the humor back.
I know.
We're getting too serious.
I invited him to come on tonight. I don't know if he saw either of these movies, but it happens every day, and it's just disgusting. And I think that's where Just Mercy affected me the most, is because I know that this happens to countless individuals. I know, corporal punishment is a hard thing for me to digest, right? In some cases, I think there needs to be such a thing as corporal punishment because there's disgusting, vile people in this world. And in other cases, the rate of error is just so high. The risk of error is so high that how do you know you got the right person? 100%, right? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, Sam. How do you feel about the corporal punishment side of this?
So a lot of the things that I feel about this, they come from a religious place, a place of faith. But that is that life is so precious. Even life that it belongs to a criminal or belongs to a felon, it's so precious. And it's so rare as far as the cosmos is concerned, life is so precious. It's so rare that I don't delight in anybody dying. There's no death that I find satisfying. So as time goes on, I feel like I'm more and more against the death penalty. But more important to me is the sense that the justice system can combine against an individual in such a way that they disregard all of the evidence, they disregard any exculpatory evidence, any reasonable doubt. And I'm sure you guys already saw Making a Murderer. That's another example. It could happen to anybody who is socially unaccepted, socially awkward, socially disgusting.
An easy target.
Easy targets. They don't help themselves. And one of the things that really stood out to me with respect to Richard Jewell was he idolized the people who are trying to put him away.
To the point where he sticks his foot in his mouth several times.
So many times.
He's sitting there and he's talking about, I'll do anything I can to cooperate. I'm law enforcement too. Now, I'm just like you guys. And they're all laughing at him. And they're all mocking him. And they don't trust him. They don't believe him. They think he's a killer. They think he's a loser. They think he's a killer, and they're going to crucify him.
Even when he's finally exonerated. And just to let you know, these are both true events, so we're going to go into spoilers. I don't think there's any way to talk about these things without going into spoilers. But even when Richard Jewell is eventually, like, he gets that letter when he's sitting at the diner with Sam Rockwell's character, and John Hamm delivers that letter, right, saying that the charges they're not pursuing them. Right. John Hamm still has it in his mind that this guy's guilty. Yeah. You see it in his face.
I know that the movie only gives us it gives us Richard Jewell's perspective as Clint Eastwood and the other writers see it, but I do not see how John Hamm's character, like that person in real life, could still think Richard Jewell did this.
I think it plays more into not so much maybe thinking he did it, but the attitude that now he looks like a fool. Oh, he might think he looks like a fool.
The movie portrays that guy as a super corrupt, awful FBI
agent. But I think that was the same thing at the end of Just Mercy when the prosecutor initially or finally agrees to how do you say?
Drop the charges.
Drop the charges. Thank you.
Yeah.
Finally drops the charges, and he has a hard time almost speaking it, right? Because he sees it as political suicide, but there's so much shame or dishonor or whatever because they were pursuing this wrong guy that they almost start to believe that, yes, this guy did it. I think that's in the case of John Hamm's character. He needed it to be true because he put so much energy in it. And by that time, I mean, catching the guy that actually did that, which they do eventually catch him. I don't know.
It takes several years. Find him.
But when you don't find somebody like that right away, the odds of catching them greatly reduce, right? Yeah. It's the same thing in a missing persons case. If you don't find them in the first 24 or 40 hours or whatever, the odds of finding them are drastically reduced. So because they spent so much time looking at this person and not looking at this person, that person ultimately has the opportunity to get away, and that case goes unsolved, much like in the case of Just Mercy, where that woman's killer was never found.
Yeah. All right, so for me, the most important theme here is that the reason both of these movies, I found both of them very moving, very emotional for me, and that's because I am a lawyer, and the thing that really stood out to me is that in both of these cases there was a system, and it's essentially all of heaven and hell had kind of conspired against these two individuals, against Richard Jewell, against Walter McMillan, and they were going to destroy these two people. They were going straight to hell.
Yeah, and it's I love that they're both two victims that didn't commit a crime, that the system is destroying, and it's portraying two very different circumstances. I mean, with Walter McMillan, he's on death row, and it's, he's already in prison, and he's set to die. Whereas Richard Jewell is being investigated still, and it shows you the horror that someone like that is going through and the freedoms that are stripped away from them before they're even put into prison. And it was just like, oh my gosh.
It's almost as if you could look at these two movies where if Richard Jewell was eventually prosecuted, Just Mercy would have happened. Right?
Yeah.
They kind of could go in sequential order.
Yeah. And that's what I want to point out, is that the turning point in both of these cases is when a competent lawyer stepped in to stand between the workings of this justice system, or the unjust workings of the justice system, and stand as a shield between the ultimate destruction that awaited these men and their eternal salvation, you could say. Like they are standing there taking the heat and saying to the government and saying to the prosecutors and the investigators and the press, you are wrong, and you will not take this. You will take this man over my dead body, essentially. Right. And to me, that's a very powerful motivation. And it's not the Avengers. It's not superheroes who are standing up for these people. It's a lawyer.
Right.
And so for me, it's a very powerful thing. I'm getting a little choked up just thinking about it right now. But
both of these attorneys did it for, sure, some money. Less so, I think, the Bryan Stevenson guy, but the attorney.
No, I think Sam Rockwell helped Richard Jewell because they were friends.
I agree, but he also needed work. That was clear.
But I don't think Richard Jewell paid him.
I don't know. But
I think he looked at it as an opportunity to elevate his company.
Maybe.
Because it was a high profile case. But I think it's kind of detailed in the movie that he was doing it pro bono. Both of these lawyers, I think, did it pro bono.
The point I was trying to make is that they did it because they're good people that want to help. That was the point I'm trying to make. And I think I like your point, Sam, that, it's not the Avengers, because superheroes like that don't exist. Superpowers, they don't exist. But good people who have the power to help do exist. And a lawyer in those circumstances has way more power than me, Joe Schmo off the street, does. I can't help someone in those circumstances. Not really. I mean, sure, there's some things I could do, like maybe raise awareness on social media, maybe call the news or whatever. But I can't help to the same degree. And I loved that. We got to see a realistic hero. These guys were heroes. I mean, Walter McMillan was literally saved from death, and Richard Jewell was saved from going to prison. And I love it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's not a profession that I'm able to do. I don't have the
stamina to be able to Let's talk about. So I guess this brings me to my next point. Let's talk about performances. There's a scene in Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan, who does a overwhelmingly fantastic job in this movie. This guy is a fantastic, brilliant actor. But there's a scene where kind of at the probably quarter of way into the movie where he witnesses a death row.
It was right at the midpoint. It was just after the midpoint.
Matt says that's the title of my sex tape. I don't have the stamina. But you see, so they kind of show the electric chair thing happening through the reflection of the window, right? And when you hear that click and you kind of hear the body just kind of drop, slump, you see Michael B. Jordan's reaction, and then you see him in the couple minutes afterwards in the car ride home, and kind of how this moment kind of shaped his life. That was the most real moment I've seen in a movie in quite a long time.
I was bawling in the theater.
What I really appreciate about that particular moment is that he didn't make a speech. I I think as a filmmaker, it could be really tempting to
Have like a monologue moment.
to preach. Yeah. To say, because it's a very poignant moment. It's a place where you can really visualize and almost touch just how awful that situation was. But rather than say something inadequate, he just kind of weeps through the scene. It's like,
wouldn't you do the same thing?
It's like 5 seconds.
I think I would. I think I would. I think I'd be at a loss for words. I think me being able to speak after a moment like that so quickly, I don't think I could do it. I think the words would escape me, because how do you describe what you just watched? How do you describe what you just witnessed? The murder of a man.
Well,
right?
Yeah, that scene was so good to me for many reasons. The performance, obviously, from Michael B. Jordan. The performance from, I can't think of the actor's name, but the one that was being killed in the movie. And another part I loved about that scene is you have the white security guard that was very racist.
He's a rookie
towards Michael B. Jordan's character near the beginning of the movie when he first goes to the prison.
Yeah.
And he was a jerk. And as an audience, you're like, you don't like the guy. At least I didn't.
Was that the same guy?
It was the same guy that made him strip down and joked about doing a cavity search on him.
That lets Walter McMillan hug his family in the van later.
Same guy.
I didn't realize it was the same guy.
That moment shows a shift in him being this bullish character to realizing, oh my gosh, I am in a prison where people are dying.
Well,
you know what I mean? And I liked that.
Yeah. So I want to point out a storytelling device there, which is you have somebody who basically represents everybody else, right? He's a stand-in for the whole community.
Yeah.
And that guard treats Michael B. Jordan the way the community and the government was treating all of the black people at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they're in that moment, they're both stand-ins for everybody else. And then as the case goes on and he can see, he's witnessing with his own eyes what it means to give someone the death penalty. That guard begins to change at that moment because it is powerful. And someone says to him, it's best not to think about it. Well, why not think about it? Why are you not thinking about it? You can't just turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Leave your morals at the door. Morals have no place here. You have to be able to weigh your morals against the job that you take. And so that guard, his morals do start to move in the right direction as the movie goes on. But he's not just the guard, he's also the community. And so as that guard makes his way to the correct side, eventually that role in the story gets handed off to the DA. And the DA ends up kind of bringing the rest of the community along over the finish line from complete bigotry and racism and an unfair system to there's a chance. Now you have a chance.
And I agree. I agree with you, but there again in the ending credits there was a slide I guess it's a slide, I don't know, that talks about that sheriff, the one that was,
and they kept him in office for 20 more years,
32 more years or something like that, or he did 6 more.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was, but he just retired in 2019. But they kept him in office till 2019. This guy was the worst of the worst, right? This guy was threatening to, Walter McMillan had a witness that was going to speak to his whereabouts and stuff like that. They threatened him with perjury. That was this guy. They threw out the first testimony from the inmate that testified on Walter McMillan's behalf. The one that initially, his testimony is what puts him in jail. What's his name? Myers. They throw out his first testimony about him not being able to throw an innocent man in jail and not knowing what happened and everything like that. And then his first recorded testimony is the one that happens 2 months later. But they elected this guy over and over again, this racist bigot over and over again. So it shows that there's still an amount of racism in that state, in every state, but we're just talking specifically about that one right now. I think, and I had something where I was going with this, and I totally lost.
I don't disagree, but is this the subject material we want on the show?
Well, this is hard. This movie's hard. Like we agreed to talk about this movie, and most of the time we talk about more lighthearted movies and stuff like that. So there's an opportunity for humor, but it's hard to speak about this movie in a humorous tone when nothing about it is humorous, because it's real and it's devastating and it's tragic, and changes need to happen. I have a hard time joking around about it, because I want people to realize the severity of what's happening here. It's still happening, and those that say it's not are incredibly blind and ignorant. It's still happening every day.
Well, I don't know about every day. I think it's probably less. It's getting less, and there are more people standing up against miscarriages of justice. The fact that you're seeing a lot of these types of movies and TV shows come out shows that there are people who are willing to stand between the machine and these people whose lives just are destroyed by the machine.
The downtrodden, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely the downtrodden, but people who are easy targets, who don't have the ability to stand up, they do have a voice. More and more, you're seeing that they get a chance. They are getting more chances, but it does still happen. It does still happen, and I think we can all agree that we don't want it to ever happen, and we can't be satisfied. We can't be complacent until we've reached a system that is willing to acknowledge its own faults, is willing to provide the innocent with an escape, is willing to provide the guilty, even the guilty, with a good defense. And until you can say confidently it will never happen to anyone else, you have to realize that it can happen to you. And we're all on the chopping block with Richard Jewell, with Johnny D. We're all on the chopping block right with them. You can't say, well, that'll never happen to me. If it happens to them, it can happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the likelihood is low, it could happen to you.
Or in Richard Jewell's case, where he's trying to do something that's good, and then it completely upends his life.
Yeah.
He's just doing a job, right?
They said something in the movie that was incredibly poignant. I think it was Richard Jewell that said it. He said, what happens the next time that somebody has the opportunity to open their mouth and they don't because of what's happened to me? So I don't know if either of you guys caught that line.
Yeah, that was at the very end when he's getting ready to be deposed, which is a testimony. That's testimony before a trial. You sit in a room with a court reporter under oath, and you give testimony. And he sits down, and rather than give any testimony, he just makes this statement that you don't know the damage you've done to justice. Essentially, this is what he's trying to say: is you don't know the damage you've done to justice by coming after me the way that you have, because I feel discouraged to stand up and put my neck on the line if I know it's going to be, if I'm the one who's going to be accused. You know, your heroes are going to be accused. That's no way to carry on justice.
No, I agree, and I don't say what I'm about to say to even necessarily like make a joke so much, but I'm a fat guy. You know, Lance and I were big guys. Richard Jewell is an even bigger guy, and I'm watching this whole scene play out where he's like helping people, and that guy is running up and down stairs. he's sick, and he's doing all this, and I'm just like, I would be exhausted. I know how much running up a flight of stairs can make me winded, and I'm not as fat as Richard Jewell.
You have no idea.
Like, he goes through so much effort to save hundreds of people, and then he gets crucified for it. It's just, it's so sad.
One little detail I thought was really cool was they interviewed Richard Jewell after the bombing for NBC News or something. It was Bryant Gumbel was interviewing him. And in the movie, they used the actual footage with the actual Richard Jewell.
They did that several times.
But they dubbed over the actor's voice. The actor's voice is dubbed over it. So.
Really?
Yeah. So
I just thought that the actor did a phenomenal job of copying that voice. Like, I didn't realize it was dubbed. Like, I was like, holy crap. Like, this guy is dead on.
That's what
like,
I thought too.
This is like Jay Farrow, like, you know, whatever other Jimmy Fallon type impressionism stuff. Like, but continue. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was dubbed.
And so it was a way to showcase that these are real people and these are real things happening. And I think both movies do a really good job of saying this can happen in your own backyard. I mean, they're both essentially taking place in the South, but one's a white guy, one's a black guy. So it can happen to anybody. If it can happen to these guys, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a shame.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the performances were fantastic. I think the direction was good in both, great in both. I think they used music really well. Like, for instance, in the death scene in Just Mercy, the music they used, just the sound design in general, how you could hear all the prisoners banging their cups against the wall, like the way they did that scene in every aspect was just one of the most impactful scenes in a movie I've ever seen. And these were just two fantastic movies, and I'm just impressed that 2019 had two amazing movies of basically the same genre that delivered very powerfully to the feels like they did.
And you know what? You know what's really sad, because these movies are both fantastic. Mm-hmm. But am I not mistaken that not a lot of people went and saw these?
I don't know.
They weren't huge blockbusters.
You're right. You're right that not a lot of people saw them. I feel like they didn't get a lot of attention. They're movies that have been, for lack of a better term, they've been done before.
Yeah.
And I just feel like these are both really good. Richard Jewell, I haven't seen a movie like Richard Jewell because it takes place at a different point in the investigation or in the case against him. It's early on before they even brought charges versus Just Mercy, which is way after conviction. I mean, it took place long after conviction.
Richard Jewell reminds me of a lot of those crime shows on Netflix. Like, this could have been a serial. Is that the right word? This could have been put into a series on Netflix, like a 6 or 7 episode crime series. Serial, yes. It didn't have that same feel that you think. Like, it felt like it could have been like 6 1-hour episodes of this whole process on Netflix.
I mean, it could have been.
Yeah, sure. But I really liked the way it was put together. Clint Eastwood is really good at telling stories like that. I mean, as long as he's using actual actors and not the people who are actually on the train, then yeah, he's really good at telling stories like that.
Oh, did he do?
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Did he do the train one where it was the guy that was actually on the train as the actor?
Yeah, Clint Eastwood directed that one. There was a movie about a terrorist attack on a train, and the people who are on the train, Clint Eastwood hired them to portray themselves in the movie.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I could see how that would backfire, though.
But they're not actors. They're not actors.
Yeah, you need to get like well-trained actors.
So it kind of fell flat. I mean, people were like, "Yeah, it's a really cool story and good for these guys for doing it," but it feels a little weird that they're basically acting out what they did that day.
Well, you know what movie does that really well? That's fantastic, and I don't think it got a lot of leg under it either. Is Act of Valor. Have you guys seen that one?
I liked Act of Valor, but the acting was pretty bad.
Yeah, but those are all actual Navy SEALs.
I know, but
They're, all their names are like their names aren't their real names on the credits and stuff like that. Like they're all kept secret and everything. Like these guys lived through those experiences.
Yeah,
I thought Act of Valor was awesome.
I liked it.
Have you seen that one, Sam?
I haven't seen it.
2012 or something, 2013 maybe.
Yeah, I think it's on my Vudu account.
Yeah, 1517 to Paris. Thanks, Matt. That's the name of the movie where Clint Eastwood used the actual people to portray themselves.
Oh, I have heard of that movie. I haven't seen that one. Did it?
Yeah.
It's a shame because I haven't seen that one, obviously. I haven't seen a bad movie of his. Even like ones that didn't get a lot of play, like The Mule, I thought was fantastic.
Did he direct that one too?
I think he directed it and starred in it, right?
I wasn't
Sam?
sure if he directed
The Mule?
The Mule.
Yep.
I heard good things about it.
That one's fantastic. It's about an older gentleman that his company, his flower business, kind of shuts down, and then he goes into turning into a drug mule for the Mexican cartel. And the ending is very good. His performance is very good. It reminded me a lot of his performance reminded me a lot of like Gran Torino, except in this movie he's nicer.
I liked Gran Torino. The grumpy old man on the porch.
Gran Torino had quite a bit more action aspects to it. Not action, that's not, but like the intensity was a different kind of intensity.
Yeah.
But The Mule is fantastic. But he's just a fantastic director. It's gonna be a sad day. He's getting up there in age, man. It's gonna be a sad day when he's done. Because he tells these stories unlike anybody I've ever really seen.
Yeah, I mean, there's stories that you could overlook. The stakes are, they're not real high, I would say, compared to a lot of other stories. Like in Just Mercy, there are a lot of people on death row, and Richard Jewell never gets that far. He doesn't ever even get prosecuted.
Right. These are stories that could go largely unnoticed. I mean, they probably did get a lot of press at that time, but they're not in people's consciousness right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he kind of brings them back into people's.
I mean, are
thoughts.
Any of us even old enough to really remember the Atlanta?
Yeah, I was 14.
Okay.
13, 14.
What year did that happen?
96.
Oh yeah, I was 12.
Yeah. I think
11.
I would have been 8. I don't remember it.
Yeah. But I don't remember it. I mean,
so
the first big event that I absolutely remember is 9/11.
Oh
yeah, you can't.
I remember where I was and everything. I remember seeing it. That's the first big event. I think I was 13 when that happened. 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I remember Oklahoma City, the Timothy McVeigh bombing. I remember Unabomber. I remember Anthrax. I remember, dude, there's been a lot of.
Well, I remember Anthrax, with the envelopes and stuff.
Yeah, that was right after 9/11.
Yeah, I remember Anthrax.
I remember
and there was, I remember it too because they were trying to say that it was connected to the same terrorist group that was doing. They were trying to connect. There was a lot of Muslim hatred in that time. And they were trying to connect a lot of these things together to this Muslim hatred. And
all right, so here's a story. So I went on my mission. For those of you who don't know, I went on a mission for the LDS Church in 2002, 2003. I went to Mexico, and about halfway through, I ended up being partners with this guy who had done his mission in New York City, but he ended up having to go back to Mexico to finish his mission because he was from Mexico, and his visa renewal got burned up in the post 9/11 anthrax scare.
What?
They had sent him in the mail a visa renewal, and they were really worried about anthrax, so they were checking a lot of mail for anthrax, and one of the tests that they had done on this ended up destroying his visa renewal. So his visa was never renewed. And he basically got deported, and he ended up finishing his mission with it.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Wow, that's crazy.
That is, oh my gosh.
Man,
yeah,
so the thing about these movies is that I feel like there's the older I get, the more I really appreciate stories that focus on kind of everyday people who are devoted to something ordinary, and how those things can really become life changing. And these are turning points in these people's lives. Most of us don't go from one terrifying event to the next. It's usually just one of these types of events in your life, and then your life is never the same after. And so I really, really like these types of stories. I think Clint Eastwood is really good at telling them. Michael B. Jordan seems to find himself in a lot of these types of movies as well. Fruitvale Station was a really
Fruitvale Station. Have you seen
movie.
it? Oh my gosh, dude, that movie's fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't mind watching that one again to talk on here.
I mean, these are heavy topics. So I mean, if you don't mind getting into heavy topics, but fascinating films, fascinating stories.
Yeah.
And I really think that people need to see these two movies. I would say it's a need more than just a recommendation. Not only are they really well told, not only are these stories really well told, but the subject matter is important, which is don't give too much trust to the system. We need to be skeptical of the system all the time. I had a friend who said, he's like, we've got the Bill of Rights. We don't need the Second Amendment to protect us from the government. And I was like, the Bill of Rights is just a piece of paper unless you've got bullets behind it. And and he kind of chuckled at that, and he took my meaning, but be skeptical of the system, question it. Don't ever just take for granted that the people in charge have your best interests at heart. Everybody is self-interested. Everybody's looking out for number one. And if you don't do your best to assert your rights and assert your own interests, then the system can just run over you. And you don't want to be that. You don't want to be run over by the system. Nobody does. But if it can happen to them, it can happen to you. So it's important for all of us to step up, take on these, take in these stories, not just take them on, but take them in, let them change you, let them motivate you to be different and to stand up like the attorney that Sam Rockwell portrayed and that Michael B. Jordan portrayed.
Yeah. We recommend these movies to everybody. Let's give our ratings on them, and then we'll do some Fab or Flub. Max, what did you think of Richard Jewell?
Are we starting with Richard Jewell? Man, so Richard Jewell, I loved it. I'm thinking on that one, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 and a throw pillow.
So
Sam?
4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
I did review Richard Jewell when I saw it in November, and it still holds true to me today. But 5 out of 5. I would see this movie again and again and again. So good, so powerful, and at the same time, like the stakes aren't so high that it's like a real downer to watch. It's important movie. So I think I could watch Richard Jewell a million times and never get tired of it. So I'm going to give it a 5.
I love this movie, but like I said, I have a hard time watching these kind of movies over and over again, just because of the truly emotional movies like Just Mercy or Richard Jewell. So I'm going to consider that in my rating as far as.
So is it a 2?
No, it's a fantastic movie, but I think I'm going to give it a 4 just for the sheer fact that I don't know if I can sit through it again. With Just Mercy, I was on my feet for half that movie. Like I got up. The anxiety that I was feeling was so strong that I was walking behind my couch watching this movie.
Oh wow.
And these aren't just like relaxing popcorn movies for me. I have so much empathy to the story that I'm seeing and the characters that I'm seeing on screen. They're hard for me to watch, especially knowing that they're true. It's the same with 1917. I don't know if I can watch that movie again, just because it's so moving and so real that it's just maybe too real for me.
Yeah.
So I give Richard Jewell a 4 out of 5. I'll start with Just Mercy. I also give Just Mercy a 4 out of 5. I thought the performances as a whole in Just Mercy, like everybody involved with Just Mercy, was better than everybody involved with Richard Jewell. Not saying that anybody did a bad job in Richard Jewell. John Hamm, sometimes, like, I don't always believe John Hamm. He still did a good job. He's just not the most prolific actor, I guess you could say. Like, he's just not. I don't always feel like he dives as much into the role as some of the other people that we're talking about here.
Yeah, well, for me, when you compare, there were several hateable characters in both movies. When you compare the hateable, like, John Hamm character to the district attorney in Just Mercy, I feel like the district attorney in Just Mercy did a better job portraying that dislikable character.
John Hamm just doesn't always strike me as the best actor. He's kind of more of a, like, he does a decent enough job. It's just I would never think of him as like an Oscar contender. You know what I mean? So Just Mercy probably gets a little bit of more edge on that thing. So did I already give my rating?
I don't know.
Yeah, you said 4.
I think I've talked myself into giving it a throw pillow, so I'm doing 4.5 for Just Mercy.
Right.
I've talked myself. How can I give them the same rating when I'm already given reasons why I liked one more than the other? It's very conflicting when you only have 5, or 10 if you count the halves. You only have this little space to work in.
When we were setting it up, I said we should do 10, but I was shot down.
But you basically got your way. Those halves are.
It's true.
5 is plenty.
Sam, or who went first last time?
I'll go.
So Sam, what did you think of Just Mercy?
I thought Just Mercy was a very powerful story. I thought the performances were excellent. And, I feel like Southern racists are starting to inhabit the same space as Nazi Germany, where they're easy to hate. They're kind of a low-hanging fruit as far as villains are concerned. And this type of movie has been done a lot, and there will probably be a lot more of these type of movies come out eventually. Yeah. That said, it was very good. I would watch it again. So for that reason, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
So you liked Richard Jewell better than this one?
Yeah, and the thing about Richard Jewell is, I think Richard Jewell does a better job portraying that this can happen to anyone, and you don't have to be a victim of racism for this to happen to you. Whereas Just Mercy, it basically lays the fault at the foot of Southern racists, when the system can roll over anybody. It doesn't have to be black people. It can be anybody. But it is a very good movie. I really, really liked it. I liked the performances. Jamie Foxx was so good. And I've seen him go over the top in a lot of ways, but in this movie he played it really, really well. And it was
every
really
so
good.
often he has a role where it seems like he's perfect for, right?
Yeah.
Like Ray was one of those roles, this movie. But continue. I didn't mean to.
No, I mean, I've said it all. I'm just going around in circles by now.
But like, I agree with you. Sometimes he'd be over the top, like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, I felt he was way over the top. Is it Collateral, the one with Tom Cruise?
Oh, I don't know.
That's
where they're in the taxi cab.
Yeah, that was a weird movie.
He was a little over the top at times. He's not believable as this nerdy taxi cab driver. But
you didn't like him as Electro?
No. No. Not only his performance, but what they did to that character. I love Andrew Garfield though. But what's your consensus of Just Mercy?
So I'm pretty sure I rated it back in like November when I saw it originally. No, it was January. I saw it in January. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4.5 then, so I'm going to maintain that rating. I do like it better than Richard Jewell, but not that much more. So I feel like they both still warrant the same rating. I loved it. I think it's a really good movie. I recommended it to several people, and my dad went and watched it on my recommendation. My mother-in-law, my wife, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, we all sat together and watched it, and my brother's going to watch it. Like, a bunch of people have watched it on my recommendation and told me that they really liked it. It's a great movie. It's really good. It's moving, and I will watch it again.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. Matt has said several times in the chat that we need to watch Brigsby Bear.
Yeah, which I looked it up thinking it
What
was
is
like
that?
some like legal movie.
What is that?
No, it's a Lonely Island. It was produced by the Lonely Island. I'll
Okay.
watch it because Kyle Mooney, Mark Hamill, Greg Kinnear, Matt Walsh. That's enough for me. Mark Hamill's enough for me to watch it. So I think I'm going to check it out.
The Lonely Island. What else have they made?
The
That's
Lonely
Andy
Island,
Samberg.
Andy Samberg's music group.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones that did Dick in a Box.
I've never.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're correct.
All right,
So
I guess
after
we're
this-
closing. I
after
guess
this-
we're closing the Richard Jewell Just Mercy portion of
Yeah,
this.
let's just close this.
After our show, Max is going to watch the SNL skit Dick in a Box. It's
Oh,
pretty.
it's an SNL skit?
Oh, it's Justin Timberlake and Andy Samberg. It's absolutely
I don't think I've
hilarious.
seen that one.
They made Funko Pops of it.
Really? Okay.
That's how popular the skit was.
Okay.
But so next week, make sure to join us. We're going to talk about The Invisible Man and The Unseen and kind of compare and contrast those two movies against each other, both featuring
Invisible Man storylines.
yeah. So we're going to talk about those, but let's get into some Faberflub, or actually let's get into some Faberflub. So there's a couple here. As you guys know, everything is coronavirus related. There's nothing really big happening because production studios are pretty much shut down. The movie theaters are shut down. People are staying in their houses, so actors don't have the opportunity to really get themselves into the news unless they say something really stupid on Twitter. In the case of Wasp actress Evangeline Lilly, who has now had her role reduced in the next Ant-Man movie because of some of the things that she said.
And Vanessa Hudgens.
And Vanessa Hudgens, which nobody really cared about her anyways.
I don't even know what these people said.
Evangeline Lilly basically said
She said, nothing's more important than freedom. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah. People are like, you're an idiot. What about other people's freedom?
What about other people's health? Yeah.
That's an argument
Yeah.
we could have about a lot of things.
Speaking of, in Colorado right now, where my mother-in-law is at, and Max escaped in the wee hour. So I'm going to equate this to something. My grandmother fed Italy in the middle of the night from Mussolini. Max did the same thing in the middle of the night from Colorado from the coronavirus. So just fled in the middle of the night, 10:30 at night, because they were going to close the border at 6 a.m. My mother-in-law, who lives there, says that cops are stopping all cars to figure out where they're going and if it's an essential destination or not. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's a police state
I'm
right
very
now.
glad that I'm not in Colorado at the moment.
That is nuts.
Got my
But
house up on the market. I'll go back to pack it up, but I don't want to be there during this quarantine.
and I get it. I'm not faulting them at all. Their case is much more severe than it is here in Arizona, even though we're starting to ramp up a little bit. But I just want to throw that out there. Like it's crazy what's happening in the world today.
That's very crazy.
So Josh Brolin recently said that he would love to come back as Cable in the Deadpool movie.
In the MCU.
In the MCU, yes, which we already know Deadpool is returning. I'm not sure how much of there's been rumors that Deadpool's just going to kind of like jump universes and leave his old universe behind. So it'd almost be like
Like he's going to Scooby-Doo scene change. Whoop. It's
Yeah,
just
like,
just like a
essentially-
wipe. Whoop.
yeah, it's going to be like a reboot. Like his story is going to start fresh, but they're not going to do like an origin story or anything like that. But a lot of those characters could or whatever be rebooted, like Domino and Cable and things like that. Nobody knows at this point. We do know that he's been in discussions with Marvel about the future of Deadpool. There is a rumor that it will be in Spider-Man 3. But how would you guys feel as of Josh Brolin returning as Cable to the MCU? We already know that Josh Brolin has a relationship with the MCU.
Here's what I would love to see. I would love to see Cable go into New Avengers facility with everybody who was there when Thanos showed up. And I would love for them to just take like a squinty look at him and be like, you look very familiar to me.
There is a I'm trying to find it. I think it's a cable pop where he's wearing Thanos in a like Hunger Games style, like with the baby. There's a little Thanos in this pouch.
Oh, really?
He's like cosmic. It might be him or Ghost Rider. I don't remember, but there is a thing where those two characters are mashed together. But if Deadpool's in it, I'm sure that's going to happen. There's going to be some joke about him being Thanos.
Well, he's already done that. He's already made jokes about him being Thanos. So
yeah.
Call him your tits, Thanos, and Deadpool 2 or something like that.
But we do know that MCU, I mean, they're looking at Vin Diesel to play Black Bolt from the Inhumans, who's a silent character because his voice is his superpower. You saw Inhumans. He speaks and So there's a rumor that Vin Diesel could be brought in for Black Bolt, Black Bolt. I always say Black Adam when I mean Black Bolt. Black Bolt. Vin Diesel also plays Groot. There's a rumor of a few of these things happening where actors could be brought back in to play different roles than what they've played before. Did you guys like Josh Brolin as Thanos?
As Thanos or as Cable?
Or as Cable?
Yeah, I thought he was great.
I thought he was fine, but I don't. This is a flub for me. It's not really a flub or a fab, but I'm going to lead towards flub. I just don't really care.
Cable's an awesome character.
No, Cable's an awesome character, but you could recast it and I'd be fine. It doesn't need to be Josh Brolin for me. But if you want to just take all the same people that have been cast, they're all fine. But other than Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, that's the only one I need to keep. If you wanted to recast everybody else, I don't think I'd throw a fit.
What? You want to kick out Zazie Beetz?
I like Domino.
She was a really good Domino. Good point.
I like Domino. I want to see Brad Pitt again.
Oh man,
that's the invisible guy.
Yeah,
that was a great cameo.
And Peter. Is it Peter? Is Peter?
Okay, sorry. His cab driver.
No. No. That's
the guy that didn't have any powers.
That guy.
I want to see him again so badly. Like every time that guy was on screen, I laughed.
He was funny.
Speaking of Deadpool
Terry
and Ryan
Crews,
Reynolds,
you don't want Terry Crews back?
I heard there's a rumor Terry Crews is being looked at for something else for MCU.
I'm just saying the most important thing for me is I just want Ryan Reynolds to keep playing the character.
Oh, that's going to happen. We know that's going to happen.
But I do think now that you mention it, Dopinder, how do you say his name? He is hilarious. I'd like him to stick around. And then Domino's, Zazie Beetz does a great job as Domino. So, yeah.
So, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, did you guys ever play Dragon's Lair?
Oh, yeah. It was basically an arcade version of using your DVD remote to play video games.
Yeah. So Dragon's Lair was cool because it was all like an animated cartoon.
Yeah. Wait,
it reminds,
animated cartoon? That's weird.
It's a video game. It's from the early.
It's a video game. It was like a Don Bluth style animation.
Oh, that's right. I've seen this before.
Yeah,
and you had to hit a button or move the joystick at a certain time. And if you didn't do it, you would die. And it's
incredibly hard. It's one of the hardest games ever.
It was so unforgiving. Like they gave you zero room for error. You had to do it at exactly the right time, exactly the right way, or you would die. And there goes your quarter. You have to feed it another quarter.
So there's Ryan Reynolds is currently in talk to play the title role in a Netflix adaptation of that video game.
Oh.
Which kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Monty Python Holy Grail-esque type game, right? I haven't played it in probably 20 years.
From what I'm remembering, it kind of reminds me of like the same art style as like Sword in the Stone. Kind of reminds me of that.
But it's more humorous.
Okay.
Like
it was a Don Bluth animation thing. I don't know if you guys remember Five Goes West, American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Those are all Don Bluth. Those are all Don Bluth movies.
Man, All Dogs Go to Heaven. I watched that a couple years ago. I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty like mature content for a kid.
All Dogs Go to Heaven. It's tough, man. Like that's a tough movie to watch. But I'm trying to remember. Was it Dirk the Destroyer was the main guy's. It was something really. It was something really goofy though, like his little
His epithet?
Title. Yeah, I'm trying to find it here real quick. Give me one sec. I know it's in the article. His name was Dirk the Daring.
Dirk the Daring.
Dirk.
Which shouldn't make me laugh because there's nothing funny about it, but it makes me laugh.
I guess you just like alliteration.
Because I guess so. We are couch crunchers, right?
It's true.
But Dirk the Daring, I don't know what it sounds like. It's supposed to be like imposing, but it makes me think of him as like this kind of. But here's the animation style. But
no yawning on screen, Max.
Jeez, buddy.
Sorry, Lance is boring me.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's move on. I thought for sure if it was video games, he'd be like, "What? Video games?"
I'm just kidding. I'm just yawning.
The original ending of Arrow saw Oliver Queen's death inspire Bruce Wayne to be Batman.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Bruce Wayne is inspired to be Batman because Bruce Wayne is freaking Batman. And he's cool. He doesn't need to be inspired by a B-list character. No, I don't like that at all. I like Arrow, but it should go the other way around, if anything.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would need to change the origin story of Batman.
Yeah. Plus, the show teased several times about the Batman already existing, so it wouldn't have made sense.
Well,
Yeah.
doesn't he exist in Batwoman's universe?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
It's Batwoman. Yeah.
Yeah.
David Harbour says.
Whoa.
Oh,
Whoa,
go ahead.
let's-
Sorry, you need to.
Let
You need
Sam
to
speak.
say what you think. I'm sorry, dude.
Well, and Lance is just sitting here with stray toilet paper, as if it's no big deal.
Oh, I didn't have Kleenex because they're sold out in the friggin' thing, so I've been having to use
Wow.
toilet paper to solve
is
my
Kleenex.
allergies here.
I think we can all agree that the best, well, one of the best, if not the best iteration of Batman, Christian Bale's Batman Begins, Dark Knight, in those, there were no other costume superheroes. He was the first, if not the only.
Yeah.
They kind of
And-
allude in the last one that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to become something, but he never does. But you're right. There's no superpowered people around him or anything.
Well, no, and Christopher Nolan in like the making ofs and all those director's commentary parts that if you're a real film junkie, you dive into those from time to time. He talked about how they made a conscious choice that Batman was the only costume superhero. He lived in a world that didn't have superheroes or comic books or anything like that. And so I feel like that's a pretty definitive position to take on Batman. And I think it would really kind of cheapen it to say, oh, he was inspired by somebody else. Batman is the guy. I agree with Max. He is the guy that inspires everybody else.
Yeah, he shouldn't be coming after the horse. He should be, or how do you say, before the horse, putting the cart before the horse or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he needs to be the
frickin'
one.
horse.
Yeah, he needs to be the one that starts it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And then all these other people kind of look to his
and his
influence.
persona. You gotta
Matt,
realize
you can
that
drink
his
now,
persona is the wackiest, right? He dresses up like a bat, and Christian Bale, he puts it really well. He's like clearly has issues, right? That's absolutely true. I mean, Green Arrow, you could say he's basically modern day Robin Hood. He's righting the wrongs. But what about a guy who dresses like a bat? How do you justify that? And for him to look at somebody else and say, Green Arrow's cool, but maybe what he should have been is a bat.
Yeah. I could see it maybe like they would have been cool like if Batman already existed and like Terry McGinnis.
Is that his name?
Yeah, that sounds
From Batman
right.
Beyond?
From Batman Beyond. Sees Oliver Queen and is inspired to Oliver Queen and goes and seeks out Bruce Wayne.
That could have been cool.
Like he uncovers the truth that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like it could have been a jumping point for Terry McGinnis. That would have been cool. But I'm not sitting in the writer's room, so.
No, I don't think they needed to do anything with Batman at all with it.
I
The
want to
Arrow
see
ending
Batman
was cool.
Beyond. Like I don't think Batman Beyond gets his fair shake in the Batman, like all these shows and movies and everything that's been happening. Like Batman Beyond for some reason is always like He just had a cool animated series. Like he's always kind of left out from.
No, Batman Beyond is cool. I would like to see him in a video game. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Alrighty. So both of you are flub. I'm a flub. So David Harbour says the Hellboy remake failed because of fans of the Guillermo del Toro versions.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Agree.
He's not wrong.
I don't think that's why it failed, though.
Here's the deal. The Guillermo del Toro versions were so good. They were so good. And so to compare the quality of those two movies against the iteration that we saw last year, like yeah,
it is a stark difference.
It's a very big difference. So yeah, I mean, it's not because of the fans, it's because the movie quality is so drastic. The difference between the movie quality is so drastic that you'd have to be, you'd have to have your brains beat out to say that David Harbour's version was better than Guillermo del Toro's.
My brains were beat out.
Well, we had an episode where we talked about Hellboy, right?
I don't know if I was on it or not.
Yeah, we had an episode where we talked about Hellboy.
I like it more than most people, but it's not good.
The entire movie, David Harbour appears to be reading off cue cards. He's not believable as an action star. He's just not. You can tell that he's wearing a muscle suit throughout that entire movie that's just painted red. It's a muscle suit. That's not his real body.
No, we know.
Yeah, you can tell. Like the special effects were just cheesy, and Mila Djokovic, right? That's who it is. Her role was just
Mila Jovovich,
whatever.
Was it
Jovovich?
I didn't like her in that role. What was it? The Blood Queen? Is that her name? The Blood Queen, I think.
I don't know.
Guillermo del Toro's versions of Hellboy are some of my favorite. Yeah, we did do an episode on that. We watched the originals and we watched the new one or something like that.
Yeah, we did separate episodes.
Guillermo del Toro's versions of Hellboy are some of my favorite comic book movies. The first one more so than the Golden Army, but right, the Golden Army. Yeah,
the Golden Army was.
But I love the Golden Army. I'm not trying to put it down. It's just I like the first one better. But everything about that movie was just like the right amount of cheesiness, the right amount of action, like everybody did a really solid job. It's a typical Guillermo del Toro movie,
Okay, well, let's pause right there. Typical Guillermo del Toro is so bonkers. Like his creature design is so out of this world. He's got the guys with the hands and the eyes. Like he basically took the stuff that he was toying with in Pan's Labyrinth and he kind of swapped them with Hellboy, and he put all his crazy creature designs.
Yeah.
And they're so awesome. They're so otherworldly. They're so beyond what I think a lot of people would consider.
Well, have either of you seen The Shape of the Water?
The Shape of Water?
The Shape of Water? Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
So in that movie, the main monster that the deaf woman falls in love with,
the merman,
looks almost exactly like, I think it's Abraham, right, from Hellboy. Yeah, I think that's his name.
Yeah, I think
the fish guy.
Yeah.
But he has a very unique, that's why that movie works so well, because it got to use Guillermo del Toro's best talents of making weird looking creatures and telling really in-depth stories. I don't know if either of you ever saw, I think it was called Mama. That was weird. I just activated my AirPods. It was called Mama with Jessica Chastain. Horrible movie. Absolutely horrible movie. The ending was horrible. It's because Guillermo del Toro didn't get an opportunity to really flex his muscles and make these cool looking creatures and stuff like that. So I think that the new Hellboy, if they wanted to go darker and they wanted to do the blood and guts, they should have just let Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro do it. And it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand the love for Hellboy at all.
Because he's different. Like a lot of these superheroes
the
are
originals. They were okay. I think I gave them a 3 and a 3.5. Like they were all right.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, the latest one, I think I gave a 2.5. So I mean, I clearly did.
I gave that movie a 1.
I don't get it. They're not that good to begin with, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think Guillermo del Toro is visionary, but I think just as far as the character design and everything, like I thought Ron Perlman looked better as Hellboy than the new one.
I don't agree.
Yeah, the new one looked absolutely ridiculous. But they tried to go after the old comic portrayal of Hellboy. There's a comic series where he's real like stretched out and stuff. Matt doesn't like Hellboy either. But Matt doesn't really like a lot of movies that I like.
That's right. The Hellboy movies are very overrated.
But I'm going to let you borrow Shape of Water.
Okay.
Yeah, I have it here.
I'll wait until I move back. Maybe a little bit.
Well, if Colorado ever lets you move, lets you
They'll
go
let me
back
move.
to get your stuff.
My house already has offers on it.
But yeah, I think David Harbour saying that the fans are the reason that the movie failed is kind of a cop out. Like, I think that movie had so many errors that it was much more than that.
I hate this trend of stars like blaming fans for not liking their movies. Like,
Well, Jim Carrey kind of did the same thing. He was blaming fans about the Sonic thing. He said how ridiculous it was that the fans made the studio redesigned Sonic, and Sonic's now the highest grossing video game movie of all time.
yeah, the people responded to that. It's like, look, when you have respect for the material, you have respect for the fandom responds. And if you produce something quality, people will go to see it. You can't just blame fans and say, you know, they're too stuck on previous iterations. Well, you know, I think a lot of people are open to new versions of stuff that, you know, you can see the 60s Batman was different than the Tim Burton Batman, which is different from the Christopher Nolan Batman. But they're all well received in the times that they were given. And
they still have their points where they're faithful to some of the subject material.
Yeah, so here let me equate it to food. All right.
Yeah.
Pizza is amazing. Put some pepperoni on there, barbecue chicken, you know, do sausage, meat lovers, vegetables on there is fine. But the moment you put pineapple on, you've
becomes ever better.
You've destroyed a classic.
Talk
piece
about
of
the
food.
only Italian sitting in this 3-person circle. Pineapple on pizza. Is
I asked
delicious.
my Italian tour guide when I
ham
was
and
in
pineapple.
Sicily.
I don't mind saying
I asked
like
my
ham and pineapple.
My Italian guide. Okay, she's like from Italy, and she told me does not go on pizza. She's right.
It's a taste thing, and in fact,
Pizza's just fancy toast. You can put whatever you want on
it. To compare American pizza to Italian pizza is a travesty.
I agree.
Yeah,
Italian pizza is amazing,
but pineapple and ham is like.
I'm just saying that's the difference.
I love it.
You can take something and mold it and make it different. Just don't add something horrible on it like pineapple.
It's not the only fruit on the pizza.
It's not tomatoes on there.
Yeah. So you already added fruit. Why can't you just add another piece of fruit?
Because pineapple's amazing, just not on pizza. Anyways, it was a good opportunity to.
No, I think Marvel. Yeah, we got off track. Why'd you have to bring that up?
That was a terrible analogy.
I know, terrible analogy. But Marvel does a good job of this. They kind of have a little bit of respect for their fans, and people flock to their movies. Zack Snyder tried to completely change and make this whole new world and everything, and people hated it, right? Matt loves pineapple on pizza. We agree on something.
Yeah. He got wrong taste.
But Zack
it looks
Snyder,
like you're in the minority here, Max.
Yeah,
okay
Sam likes it
the
too.
Minority doesn't mean it's wrong.
Well, there must be a reason why every pizza company in the country offers pineapple on their pizzas.
That's true.
It's more popular than it's not. But wrong. But Zack Snyder completely butchered these things, and people didn't really respond well to it
because it wasn't good. But it's not because the fans are wrong. It's because the quality of the film was wrong, right?
Right.
So going in, that's the Elizabeth Banks was the most recent one with her Charlie's Angels, right? Where she's like, oh, you know, this is all because the male fans are turning away from female-driven action movies. It's like
Captain Marvel made a ton of money.
That's not true at all. Captain Marvel,
Wonder Woman made a ton of money.
Wonder Woman is another great example.
Elizabeth Banks made a crappy movie.
It's about the quality of the film. It has nothing to do with, like, you're not going to pull a fast one on the fans. Like, the fans know, the fans are good at telling you what's going to make money, because we don't like to be insulted when we go to the movies. That's all it is.
Wait. Yeah, right. I can't wait for Halle Berry's John Wick spinoff to come out, because I think that right there is going to prove Elizabeth Banks wrong.
I think a lot of other things already have, but yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, I mean, something that's not attached to a Marvel or DC property, because you could.
Well, Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde didn't do that well in theaters.
I don't remember what it did, but it's a good action movie. Her point was that men don't like female-led action movies.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm perfectly comfortable seeing a strong female go out and kick some butt.
Hunger Games, there you
go. Yeah. But her movie just sucked. I mean, the old movies didn't do as. Tank Girl is fantastic. I need to show you Tank Girl sometime. Tank Girl is an awesome female-led action movie. But the original Charlie's Angels with Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu and them did much better than this new one. So how does she explain that, right?
Yep.
No, what they did is they completely changed the backstory of it's already led by 3 girls, but they made Bosley a female, or they made like a team of Bosleys or something like that. Like, but their Bosley is a female, and then I don't know. She just tried to do this whole feminist thing with this show that was already. It's because of one name. I don't understand what he's talking about.
I don't either.
But she tried to do this whole feminist thing with a property that's already geared towards feminism.
Yeah,
like it made no sense. Why turn something more feminist when it's already feminist? Like it just doesn't make sense.
Like it's not even the message that females can be empowered. I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was the movie beats were terrible. Like the way that the movie was put together, the action scenes, like you never saw anybody get punched. You saw like the scene after they got punched or right before, but then there was like a camera cut in between them getting about to get punched and then right after the punch, and they switch angles so you don't actually see them make contact.
Kind of like Bloodshot.
Yeah, exactly like Bloodshot. And this is the complaint I was having at the time we were talking about Charlie's Angels, and the same with Bloodshot is in a post John Wick world, action has to meet a certain standard now, where you actually show us action. You can't give us hints of action. You can't give us action that has a million camera cuts in between each position of the character. You have to show us the action so that we can get invested in it. Yeah. I thought the action was terrible. I thought the story beats were just kind of bonkers. Like they didn't make any sense. They basically called Gandalf's eagles at the end when all the other angels show up from around the world unnecessarily. Like okay, you didn't establish that at all. That wasn't ever part of the plan. So it was a messy story. It wasn't just the feminism. It was that it was poorly shot. It was a poor movie.
Because Elizabeth Banks, I mean, she did Pitch Perfect. What makes her think that she can then go do an action movie? Like Pitch Perfect is not funny because of the direction that took place. It was funny because Anna Kendrick is hilarious and all those girls are hilarious. Like, but if you took all those girls out of Pitch Perfect and just put some no-name girls, I don't think I'd like it as much.
They were all no-name girls at the time they shot it. Yeah, they were no names at the time.
Well, Anna Kendrick had been in a few movies before that.
I don't think she had been in much.
Yeah, she was in
Twilight. She was a bit part in Twilight, dude.
No, she was in that George Clooney movie that got her nominated for an award.
Yeah, she was, but I don't know if that was before Pitch Perfect or after. But everybody else in that movie, for sure, was a nobody.
Well, Rebel Wilson had like a small bit part in like Bridesmaids, but it wasn't that small. But like,
it's okay to be wrong. Just allow it.
Anna Kendrick was pretty well known. She had been in quite a few movies before Pitch Perfect. Because my wife and I saw Pitch Perfect in the movie theater because she has a crush on Anna Kendrick.
Okay, fair enough.
But
I have a crush on Anna Kendrick too.
I do too.
Someone once told me that they thought my wife looked kind of like Anna Kendrick, and I was like, "Well, I know who my favorite celebrity is."
But yeah, so I agree. I think that these directors need to, like, if they're going to take something with kind of a devoted source material, like something like Charlie's Angels or or Power Rangers, for instances, which was critically panned because of some of the direction that it took with everything. But if you're going to take that, listen to the fans. I mean, you're making it for the fans to begin with. So I'm trying to see when Pitch Perfect was even made.
It was 2012. She had already been in a few things.
She was in Scott Pilgrim. She was in Up in the Air. She was in 50-50. She had starring roles in she was in What to Expect When You're Expecting, End of Watch, and then finally Pitch Perfect. So she had quite a few roles.
End of Watch was a great movie.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
but
what else we got? You got any more Fabber Flubs today?
Nope, that's it. I was just going to plug something real quick. So what we're going to do is every week, one of us is going to kind of say what we're watching. Did you have something you want to talk about?
Have you guys started watching Tiger King?
No, I need to watch that. Everybody's been talking about it.
Oh my gosh. Another true story put on screen, and it is insane. You start episode 1 and you're like, okay, well, how long could this possibly be? It's 7 episodes. They have 7 hours of Tiger King content. And every episode is more bonkers than the last. It's crazy. It's about these 3 kind of rival private zoos and the owner, the very big personalities between them. And one of them may have killed their spouse. Another one has he's like a polygamist, or they're all polygamous. Honestly, they're all polygamous. But one of them hired a hitman to kill another one.
I saw that in the trailer.
But that's like the tagline. How much more sensational can it get? And it just keeps getting more and more outrageous. It is so great. You guys should definitely watch it. I'm about halfway through it, and I cannot believe the stuff that keeps coming out. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince my wife to watch it. Their name is not really the name in itself is enough for my wife to be like, I don't want to see that.
What's funny is my wife actually wants to. She keeps hearing about it, and she's watched the trailer. She's like, we need to watch this.
You gotta watch it.
Looks absurd.
It is so crazy. It's just crazy.
I'm gonna start watching it tonight, I think. I want to plug. I sent both of you a text. I don't know if you listened to me though, because I got no response.
You did.
Anna and I turned on Apple TV Plus for the first time. We've had it for 6 months or whenever it was released, because we get it for free with our Apple for buying the new iPhones. There's a show on there called Mythic Quest Raven's Blanket, which is from Charlie Day and Rob McElhenney from McElhenney from It's Always Sunny. It's about a gaming company that develops this MMORPG, which is the biggest MMORPG in the world. And it's like an Office type thing, but it is so bonkers and hilarious. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I don't know if you guys ever watched Silicon Valley from HBO. Do you guys watch It's Always Sunny?
I've seen some episodes.
Okay. So the whole premise is there's this game creator who's Rob McElhenney's character, and he's this buff, very egotistical guy, right? He decides to make a MMORPG where he is the main character, it's his likeness and everything. That's how big of an ego this guy is. And he has all his little minions putting together this game, and it's just everything goes wrong. Their game gets hacked. They have there's one episode where their main developer is getting stolen away to another gaming company and stuff like that. But it's absolutely hysterical and bonkers. You guys need to watch it. So I don't know if you guys are Charlie Day fans.
Oh yeah, he's so funny. Horrible Bosses. He's so crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it even is, but I don't even have Apple TV, so
Charlie Day is the loud one that was on those Super Bowl commercials of the Tide that kept showing up throughout the entire Super Bowl.
Did you see Horrible Bosses?
Horrible Bosses.
I didn't. No, I didn't see that one. I'm not usually.
Max does a movie podcast, but I'm starting to think that he doesn't watch a lot of movies.
I know who Charlie Day is. I know who Charlie Day is.
Because anytime I tell him a movie, he's like, I haven't seen that.
I've seen a lot of movies.
Unless there's a big, unless there's a poster every 5 feet in Max's life, he probably hasn't seen it.
Oh, shush.
Or
Here's a question.
billboards on his way to work.
Has Matt started watching Tiger King? That's what I want to know. Is Matt watching Tiger King?
I'm sure he is.
Well,
We'll see.
Nice.
Let's see. Hit us up in the chat, Matt, if you're watching Tiger King.
He says nope. I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. That seems like something he would have been on top of the date it released.
Well, any of these shows too that like, I'll credit Matt with this. These shows that get really big, like Tiger King is right now, Matt usually has watched and finished it before it got big.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's usually the guy saying, "Oh yeah, that's so good. You should have watched that 3 days ago."
It's almost like just watch what he's watching, and then in a couple months, everybody's gonna be talking about it. But yeah, I plan on watching that one. But Mythic Quest, like, I don't know if either of you have Apple TV, but I'll make sure that you guys have a way to watch it because I think you would love it.
I might. The premise
because it's very video game. There's
alley.
cut scenes that have to do with video games. There's a scene in the middle of the show that's one long episode with Jake Johnson and somebody else. I don't remember her name, but it goes back in time and Jake Johnson's starring through this whole episode, and you never see him again in the entire series. It's just one episode, and it's
I like Jake Johnson.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Matt says he bailed on Netflix.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
You might have done that prematurely.
Max, what have you been watching?
Nothing. I've been doing nothing but trying to move back to Arizona for the last 2 weeks and then working. So I really haven't. Like I tried to like actually sit down and watch some TV earlier this week, and I couldn't. I just like was so busy.
Well, I was cleaning my house to have Max and his wife come over to play Settlers of Catan. I call Max on the phone. He's like, I'm on a plane back to Denver. I'm like, where the hell? You're supposed to be coming to my house.
Yeah, Lance does this. He told me, yeah, I'm going to have the game on Tuesday. And I guess that meant I was coming to his house to play it. There was no invitation.
You might have been in the bathroom because I was telling Kelsey that I wanted you guys to have come over on Tuesday night.
The same thing happened when he came to visit me late last year. He and I talked about him being there for like 3 days, and then he shows up. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be here all week. We talked about this." No, we didn't, but you're welcome to stay.
All right, I got one more thing. I got to tell you that I'm doing. Okay. I decided to take up Chris Hemsworth on his offer of his workout program, Center Fit. He's giving away 6 weeks free to anybody who signs up between now and March 31st. So I took him up on the offer. I started with an intermediate workout because, former Ninja Warrior, thought I could hang. I still keep it real, still keep working out maybe two to three times a week. Dude, I should have started a beginner. It's killer. I woke up this morning and I was like, I can't bend my butt. My butt is like stiff.
How do you bend a butt?
You know, like at the hip. Like my glutes
you can't bend over?
Yeah, dude, it was killing me. Like sitting here right now, I don't think I'm going to be able to stand up after that.
My buddy told me, so they closed all the gyms, right?
Yeah.
And so when they got that word, he immediately went out to go buy some dumbbells because he's a bit of a gym rat. He was training to be a Navy SEAL a couple years ago, my bassist in my band.
Okay.
And he says dumbbells are sold out everywhere. Like they announced the gyms are closing and there was a run on dumbbells, apparently. So he's literally lifting cinder blocks in his garage
to keep his
body up. Yeah. He's lifting freaking cinder blocks on chains Rocky or something.
I'm having a hard time lifting myself up from the couch. And this guy's lifting cinder blocks.
No, but and Matt says we need to watch High Fidelity. I'm gonna check that one out. I do have it on my watch list. So thanks, Matt, for that.
I keep seeing that
recommendation
on my Hulu.
I didn't put it on your watch list.
No, I just keep seeing it when I log into Hulu. It's like a featured thing.
Oh yeah, it's a featured thing.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our episode. As you know, we're not going to be in WonderCon in a couple weeks. They canceled that, or they're postponing it apparently. Phoenix Fan Fusion has also been postponed until
September right now.
Yeah. But the panels that we submitted are still going on. in September.
It gives me more time to put together my choose your own adventure.
Yeah. So now it better be really good.
Oh,
whenever somebody picks a thing, there better be like confetti shooting out and like so the so we're not going to be at those two cons. I don't know what's going on with Gaming On Expo or Game On Expo. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really itching to go to a con because I had my heart set on WonderCon and now that's not happening. And Phoenix was going to be a nice little consolation prize, and now that's not even happening. So something needs to happen. The people need to stay in their house so this thing just dies.
Lance, why don't you set up your own booth, sell yourself a few pops, and it'll totally replace the experience for you.
Dude, I can't even go to Hot Topic or GameStop to buy pop figures. Like my appetite for the hunt is been stifled as well. So, but like I said, that brings us to the end of our episode. Next week we're going to talk about the Unseen and Invisible Man. We'll try to. Matt really wants to do Brixel Bear. What does he call it? Brigsby Bear.
Braxel Brixel.
Brickleberry.
So we might do that one in a couple weeks. Matt's first con is SDCC, considering if that doesn't get postponed, which I hope it doesn't for his sake. But come follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on Pinterest. We're on obviously YouTube. Am I forgetting something?
No, you just keep punching yourself and we're not on the shock mount.
Oh.
You're shaking the desk.
Matt says we really need to watch that movie. He keeps distracting me, man. You address his chats.
Yeah.
But come check us out on the social medias. Come check us out right here next week at 7:00 Mountain Standard Time. We will be here to talk about those two movies I mentioned earlier. And until then, keep on geeking on.
Geek, geek, geek.